I spent a lot of time thinking about the sort of things that I enjoyed doing in my free time and what interested me off duty while I was serving.
I used the resources that were available to me before I even arrived to business school. So I went through the course catalog, I talked to peers that were already at school, and then through their experiences and what I found through reading, I realized that my skills in the military transferred over really well into some of those concentrations.
I've always been a finance guy, I'm interested in personal finance. So when I got here, I knew that was something I wanted to explore because this time, right now at my MBA, is a free opportunity for me to figure things out for myself, explore. I joined clubs, I joined the finance club, entrepreneurship club, and just kind of met people that were interested in the same things that I was, and then pulled on those threads.
Looking at those course descriptions, I then trade out a couple of those classes and then realized that they were a really good fit or realized that they weren't a very good fit.
I will say I spent a lot of time thinking about who I am and what I want to do, and I would definitely recommend anyone do that.
I think as a veteran, we often underestimate ourselves with the skills we already have. There are so many skills that are transferable from my Army experience into a corporate setting or into a business setting. So things like problem solving, crisis managing,
The ability to just have that perseverance and grit and overcome obstacles.
leading teams, leading an ambiguity.
One of the biggest things that I think we all should realize as military members is that we can work on cross-functional and diverse teams. We're exposed to people that aren't like us. We work with all different sort of individuals and responsibilities, whether it's the S1 or the S6. Whatever you do, you're going to be working across boundaries and silos.
And I thought about how I did that in the military and how it applied going into different firms.
Before the interview, I would sit down and research the company and think about the kind of things they did. I would talk to people that worked there, get on LinkedIn, make phone calls, add to my network, and kind of get an understanding of what goes on at the company day by day.
I always talked about how my military background influenced me as a leader, influenced me in developing certain skill sets, and how those skill sets transferred over into what I was pursuing next.
Questions would come during the interview asking me, tell me about a time when. And of course, being in the military, I had to relay some of my stories from my military experience. But what I did immediately after would be to compare it to something that they might do. So I did this, and I imagine that's like this at your company where you have to do X, Y, Z.
I would make sure that I emphasize those skill sets that I learned in the military and how applicable they are anywhere. So I used everything and anything that I could that was available to me. Specifically, I used the CMC was a big one.
Starting out with the CMC with a resume review and a general feeling for what might interest me and where I should go to look for those types of opportunities. Leveraging second years, you'll have an opportunity to see who worked where over the summer.
My veteran community, both inside and outside of the school, alumni were huge and they're so welcoming. So anytime I had a question about a certain company, I would make sure I could find an alumni through either the CMC or through some of the systems that we have in place and reached out to them. And they were always more than happy to help with any questions that I had about an industry or a position.
As a veteran, we have the unique ability to probably message anyone on LinkedIn and say, hey, I was in the military and I'm trying to get a job as an MBA student. Would you talk to me? Or some variation of that. And it usually worked. And you start building a network for yourself where people want to help you. Going to MBA Veterans is a great opportunity to meet people that you don't know and to see some of your old friends that are probably at other business schools. Walk in there with an open mind. You're going to see a large room of companies that will have multiple different opportunities that may or may not interest you. And your goal there is to walk around and meet as many recruiters as you can. At these events, whether it's MBA Veterans or National Black or something like that, keep an open mind. You just never know what's going to happen. But if you take your presence that you have as a veteran, humility and confidence, you're going to find that attending a career fair like that will open doors for you. Spend the summer thinking about yourself. If you have a family, thinking about them. What do you want out of life and what do you want out of business school?
Being confident in who you are and what skills you bring to the table. Everybody's here to learn, and you learn from each other, and there's so much to learn from each other. To include yourself, you have a lot to contribute.